Imagine carrying heavy speakers through cold streets for almost no money. Imagine finishing work at 4 o'clock in the morning, only to wake up and do it all again. Nobody applauds, nobody knows your name, nobody believes you're building a future. Now imagine that same person standing on the biggest festival stages on earth, winning a Grammy, producing music with Beyoncé, David Guetta, Pitbull, and some of the biggest artists in the world. That sounds impossible. For Nick van der Wal, it became reality. This is the untold story of Afrojack, Spijkenisse, the Netherlands, 1987. A quiet working-class town where dreams rarely travel very far. Nick grows up with very little. His parents separate when he is still young. His mother raises him. Money is always tight. She works long hours, often taking multiple jobs, just to keep life moving. Nick watches everything. He sees the exhaustion. He sees the sacrifice. Without realizing it, his mother teaches him the lesson that will shape his entire life. Nothing valuable comes easy. At 14, Nick discovers DJing. The first time he touches a mixer, something changes. Music stops being entertainment. It becomes an obsession. While other teenagers are thinking about parties, Nick is thinking about BPM, transitions, bass lines, melodies. He spends every free hour teaching himself, making mistakes, starting over, again and again. Soon, he starts playing small birthday parties, tiny bars, local clubs. Sometimes he gets paid almost nothing. Sometimes nothing at all. He carries every speaker himself, runs every cable himself, sets up every light himself, finishes at sunrise, loads everything back into the car, drives home, sleeps a few hours, then does it all again. Most people would have quit. Nick couldn't, because every empty dance floor felt like practice for a bigger one. Every bad night made him better. Every mistake became another lesson. At 17, he leaves the Netherlands to work as a DJ on the Greek island of Crete. It isn't glamorous. It isn't luxury. It's hard work. 6 or 7 nights a week, he studies crowds, different countries, different cultures, different reactions. Night after night, he learns how music can change an entire room. Those years become his university. No classroom could have taught him what those dance floors did. When he returns home, he isn't the same teenager anymore. He has confidence, experience, and a vision. Then, electronic music begins exploding across the world. Festivals are getting bigger. Crowds are getting louder. A new generation is discovering EDM. Nick knows this is the opportunity he has been waiting for. He locks himself inside the studio. Hours become days. Days become nights. He writes, deletes, starts over, searching for one record that could change everything. In 2010, he finds it. Take Over Control, featuring Eva Simons. Within weeks, clubs across Europe are playing it. Then America notices, then Asia, then the rest of the world. The unknown DJ from a small Dutch town has created a global anthem. For the first time, the industry is asking the same question. Who is Afrojack? One hit can change your life. The next decision defines your career. After Take Over Control, Afrojack could have played it safe. He could have copied the same formula again and again. Instead, he went back into the studio because deep down, he believed his greatest music hadn't been written yet. Then, his phone rang. On the other end was David Guetta, one of the biggest names in electronic music. Guetta had heard Take Over Control He didn't just hear another hit. He heard a producer who understood how to make people feel something. That single phone call changed everything. Afrojack suddenly found himself working alongside artists he had admired for years, not watching them, creating with them. It felt unreal. Only a few years earlier, he had been carrying speakers into tiny clubs, wondering if anyone would ever notice him. Now, he was standing inside world-class studios, making music with his heroes. Then came Give Me Everything, Pitbull, Neo, Nair, Afrojack. The record exploded. Number 1 in more than 15 countries, hundreds of millions of streams, billions of radio listeners. Suddenly, Afrojack wasn't just an EDM producer. He had become one of the most sought-after producers in the entire music industry. Soon, the biggest names started calling. Beyoncé, Madonna, Chris Brown, will.i.am, Sting, Snoop Dogg, Steve Aoki, Martin Garrix. Every collaboration opened another door. Every release introduced his sound to millions of new listeners. But despite the fame, the luxury hotels, the private flights, and the sold-out festivals, one thing never changed: the studio. While everyone celebrated, Afrojack kept working, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 14, sometimes until the sun came up, because success had never been his destination. Growth was. Then, another dream became reality: the Grammy Awards. Afrojack won Best Remixed Recording for his remix of Beyoncé's Run the World, Girls. Standing there, holding one of music's highest honors, his thoughts didn't travel to Hollywood. They traveled home, back to Spijkenisse, back to the small apartment, back to his mother, the woman who worked until she was exhausted, so her son could keep believing in an impossible dream. That Grammy didn't belong to one person. It belonged to both of them. Because behind every successful artist, there is often someone whose sacrifices remain invisible. Someone who believed long before the rest of the world did. Part 3. For many artists, winning a Grammy would have been the finish line. For Afrojack, it was only the beginning. He remembered how difficult it had been to get noticed, how many doors had stayed closed, how many people had said no. So he decided to become the opportunity he once needed. He launched Wall Recordings, not just another label, a home for young producers with big dreams and nowhere to be heard. Because Afrojack knew that somewhere another teenager was sitting inside a tiny bedroom making music and wondering if anyone would ever listen. Now, he had the power to answer that question. As the years passed, his calendar became a map of the world's biggest festivals: Tomorrowland, Ultra Music Festival, EDC Las Vegas, Creamfields, Sunburn. Every weekend, another country, another city, another crowd, waiting for the lights to go down. Hundreds of thousands raising their hands to music, created by the same boy who once carried his own speakers through the rain. But if you ask people who know Afrojack, what makes him different, they rarely mention the awards, or the money, or the fame. They talk about his work ethic, about the endless hours inside the studio, about someone who never stopped trying to become better. Because Afrojack understood something many artists forget. Success isn't something you reach. It's something you have to earn again, every single day. Looking back, it's almost impossible to believe how close this story came to never happening. One small town, one single mother, one teenager with second-hand equipment and a dream that seemed impossible. There were no guarantees, no shortcuts, no secret formula, only thousands of unseen hours, thousands of failed ideas, thousands of moments when quitting would have been easier. But he didn't quit, and that changed everything. Today, millions of people know the name Afrojack. They see the festival stages, the sold-out arenas, the platinum records, the Grammy Award, but very few know the journey that came first. The years when nobody watched, the nights when almost nobody danced, the mornings when he wondered if the dream was worth chasing. Those moments created the artist the world celebrates today, because greatness is never built on the day you become famous. It is built during the years when nobody knows your name. Somewhere, tonight, another 14-year-old kid is carrying speakers into a tiny club. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody believes they'll make it. Afrojack was once that kid. And maybe the next legend is loading speakers into a car right now. If this story inspired you, subscribe, because the next story might change the way you see electronic music forever.